If you're the kind of gamer who wants a monitor that actually feels like an upgrade rather than just a bigger screen, you know the hesitation that comes with spending a serious chunk of cash. It's not enough that a display boasts a huge number of inches or a crazy refresh rate. You need something that slides into your daily setup without turning your desk into a circus act, that stays bright enough for those late-night raids, and that gives you a clear reason to pull the trigger instead of ending up with a fancy paperweight. I've spent the last few weeks swapping my old 27-inch panel for this ultra-wide beast, and I'm going to walk you through what that feels like in practice. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the size. A 49-inch curved panel is a radical shift from the typical 27 or 32-inch gaming monitors you're used to. The curvature is designed to wrap the image around your field of view, which means when you sit at your normal distance about 2.5 feet from the screen you really do get a sense of immersion without having to crane your neck. In a real-world gaming session of Elden Ring, the horizon feels naturally broader, and you can keep an eye on multiple enemies without constantly shifting your gaze. That said, if you're in a cramped apartment or share a desk with a partner, that width can be a logistical headache. The stand itself is fairly robust, but it does require a desk that's at least 30 inches deep and a solid mounting surface. I had to rearrange a couple of speakers and a small desk lamp just to make room, so plan on a little layout surgery if you're tight on space. What sets this monitor apart isn't just the physical footprint, it's the technology underneath. Samsung calls it quantum matrix technology, and the effect is most noticeable in fast-paced shooters. The panel splits the backlight into zones that can dim or brighten independently, which reduces haloing around bright objects. In practice, when I was playing Valorant, the heads-up display stayed crisp even as explosions lit up the background. The HDR peak brightness of 2000 nits is another headline claim, and in a dimly lit room I could see details and dark shadows that would normally be lost on a standard monitor. That said, if you're playing on a well-lit desk with ambient light, you won't be pulling the full 2000 nit potential. The extra brightness tends to wash out a bit, which is why I keep the room lights low when I'm after that HDR punch. Color accuracy is a big selling point for a lot of creators who also game, and the panel's true-to-life claim holds up if you calibrate it. Out of the box, the gamut is already wide enough to cover most of the DCI-P3 space, which is why my photo editing workflow feels comfortable on the same screen. I ran a quick side-by-side with a calibrated 27-inch monitor, and while the Neo G9 was a touch oversaturated on reds, a simple adjustment in the OSD fixed that. The bottom line is, if you intend to use this for both gaming and content creation, you'll get a very usable color base without needing an external colorimeter. Just be prepared to fine-tune it for your personal taste. Now, the performance side. The smooth gaming transitions promise translates into a 240 Hz refresh rate with a 1 millisecond (GTG) response time. In practice, that makes fast-moving titles feel buttery. I tested Cyberpunk 2077 with ray tracing on, and while the frame rate dropped into the 7080 frames per second range, the monitor's adaptive sync kept the motion stable with no tearing. If you're a competitive player who needs every millisecond, the response time feels genuinely quick. There's no apparent ghosting when you flick the mouse across the screen during high-intensity fights. However, the downside is the power draw. This monster sips more electricity than a typical 27-inch panel, so your electricity bill might notice if you keep it on all day. Also, the internal speakers are practically non-existent, so you'll want external audio solutions. Who should buy this? If you're a serious PC gamer who already owns a high-end GPU, and you love immersive experiences, think open-world RPGs, flight simulators, or multiplayer shooters, the Neo G9 gives you a real-world advantage by letting you see more of the battlefield without a second monitor. Streamers who want to showcase a spectacular visual experience will also benefit, as the ultra-wide format makes their content feel cinematic. Moreover, creative professionals who need a lot of screen real estate for timeline editing or multi-window workflows will appreciate the extra space without sacrificing color fidelity. Who should skip it? If you're a casual gamer who mostly plays indie titles or doesn't push high graphics settings, the price and size may be overkill. Likewise, anyone with a small desk, a shared workspace, or a very tight budget should look at more modestly sized panels. The monitor's massive dimensions also make it less ideal for tight corner setups, and if you're prone to motion sickness, the intense immersion might actually exacerbate that feeling. Let's talk